Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Jazmine, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Jazmine.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to start out by saying that I am extremely excited to be here today. It is an honor and a privilege to be speaking in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous on a Saturday night. There was a lot of things that I've done on Saturday night, so this by far is the greatest, you know. So thank you for allowing me to be here for you guys today. My sobriety date is January 12th, 2020. So together, exactly a month ago, we celebrated 2 years of recovery. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit of my story, like what it looked like then, what it looks like now type of stuff. I was raised by a single mother who was a self-proclaimed addict, and I grew up in what some of you would call a trap house. And by that, there's just a lot of outside issues going on, and I've seen a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't have at such a young age. I also have 2 younger siblings that I felt responsible for. And so by a very young age, I was looking for a means to escape that life that I was living. By 11, I started drinking, and I can tell you the first time I drank, I blacked out and I woke up with different clothes on. And that behavior would continue throughout my drinking. As I got older, my disease progressively got worse, and the relationships I subjected myself to progressively got worse. I was involved in a lot of really abusive relationships in order to match how I felt about myself on the inside, on the outside. By the time I was 18, I pulled my first geographical, and I left my mom and my sisters, and I moved to Philly with a boyfriend that I had. And I can tell you that both of our diseases progressively got worse in that time, and the abuse also became a lot worse. And I hit what I would see as my first bottom, where I had been there for years, and I was living this world of insanity. And I could see by the time, I'd been there, I was 18 till I was like 21. And I realized that when I was leaving there, that I had not accomplished anything. I had been living the same insanity day after day after day, waking up to get loaded, to go on to the next thing, to get into a fight, to scream, to cry, and do it again the next day. So I have an older sister who is also in recovery, and she lives here in Washington, and she told me that I could come live with her. Unbeknownst to her, she didn't know how bad my drinking was. So I was good for a little bit, for like a week, and then pretty soon they started to see that I had a problem, because I did what any good alcoholic does, and I became a waitress, right? And at the end of all of my shifts, I was, taking back double shots of tequila and acting like they couldn't smell it, right? And when they didn't have to pick me up anymore, and I had, made my own connections and whatever, I was waking up in random places, random trailers with different people. Who knew? I have no idea. Honestly, I still couldn't tell you what I was doing within that time frame. What I can tell you is that when I would wake up in the morning in all these places that I didn't know where I was at, I hated myself. And I would continue to subject myself to these kind of behaviors. And I got into another really abusive relationship once again, right? And this one was a little bit more scary, and this time I almost lost my life. And I remember this feeling of once again hitting this bottom. Like I feel like I had already hit it before. I'm like, how am I back here again? Right? I'm doing this again. And I remember this night that this happened, I threatened to call the cops on him, right? And I remember the next day, what I was upset about was that I threatened to call the cops on him because I considered myself a snitch for saying that, right? So this is how low of a regard I had for my life at this point. It was like he just tried to kill me, and I'm upset at myself because I threatened to call the cops on him, right? So it kind of gives you an idea of kind of the street mentality that I had accumulated by this point. Soon after that, I got evicted from the place that I was in, and so I did the next indicated right thing to me at that time, and I moved in with a pimp. And soon after that, I started working, which is kind of what we called it out there. And it started out just something small, like the landlord of this house that I was living in. And soon it became a full-time business, and I would be sent out of state with a protector that would work a phone for me, and my day would look something like you have, a date from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., from 11 to 12, and you have a little break in between here, right? And then at the end of the day, I was allowed to go to the bar or to the club, and that's what I was allowed to do. And as time progressed, I just, was drinking earlier and earlier. And I would be so wasted during my dates that I'd start getting in trouble and doing things that I really shouldn't be doing, like leaving with tricks and stuff like that I should not do. And what happened really is that I was drinking with my protector that would be with me on these trips, right? And he made a comment to me, and he said, you really don't have to do this. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't have to do this? And to me, it was like unbeknownst to me that I really don't have to live this life, And he said, hey, what about going to a meeting, right? And I'm like, at the time, I didn't even think nothing of it. I'm wasted. I'm like, whatever, dude. And then we get home from this trip, and a few days later, I look up my first meeting. And I'm like, hey, will you go to this meeting with me, right? And he's like, no, what the fuck? Like, I was drunk. What are you talking about, right? But we actually did go to this meeting, and I sit in this, chair. This is in Bellingham, actually. And I sat down, and I remember I start crying, and they asked me to share, and I said, this is hard, and I don't know if I can do this. And there was 4 women that came up to me that day and gave me a hug and told me that it would be okay. And I can tell you guys that the life that I had been living at that point, it was the first time in a long time that people treated me like a human being and not like something that was worth selling, something that was for sale. And that feeling, that one feeling that I got of coming home is what it felt like. I kept coming, and I told my pimp I had to leave, and he told me I couldn't. It was this whole drama scene, whatever. But I left, and I ended up moving in with my older sister, which is a blessing because I had burned that bridge long ago. And I started going to the meetings. Now, I can tell you that I couldn't tell that the meetings weren't going to be sufficient enough for somebody like me. I know that there's a lot of people that can just go to meetings and, abstain from drinking. That I could tell you, I already knew it wasn't me. I started getting all, again within a, first part of my 30 days. So I did what you guys told me to do, and I got a sponsor, right? I went up to a lady. I asked her to be my sponsor, and she's like, yeah, do you got the literature? I'm like, no, but I'll get it. And somebody, a loving man from the program bought me my first book, and I started working the steps, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey that I've had within the steps. So the first step, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that my life had become unmanageable. As you guys have heard, it was pretty evident to me and everybody else that I was powerless over alcohol and that my life was completely unmanageable, I had gotten to a point where I, when they talk about bankruptcy, I was completely bankrupt. I had sold everything that I ever had, including my body. And I had lost every moral that I ever thought I had. When they talk about, the stories of just like incomprehensible demoralization, that was me. There, I had done things that I never ever thought I would do. And I was ready. I had surrendered. I had the gift of surrender. When I came into the rooms, I was ready to do the things that I was told to do. This was the last house on the block for me, because what I could tell you was that when I was working, and going through those dates, that I remember thinking that if I have to go through one more day, I'm going to kill myself. And you guys gave me hope, even though you guys were all old. And there wasn't a lot of young people, and I'm like, where the fuck am I, And I'm like, these people, they got kids and husbands and stuff. I'm like, oh, geez, this is too much for me, but I kept coming, And then 2, I came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore me to sanity. I didn't have any idea of what a higher power was when I came in here, or God, or, whatever, God in my understanding. But what I did and also restore me to sanity. I didn't grow up in anywhere sane. So to me, I'm like, I don't want to be restored to nothing, like, no, I'm good. I want something different than what I had. But I did believe that my sponsor had been restored to sanity. And going into the third, it was kind of similar, right? I was willing to turn my will in my life over to the care of God as I understood him. But for me at that time, looked more like asking my sponsor what to do, telling my sponsor what was happening, making that decision to turn it over, and not make my decisions anymore. And I can tell you that I did make one decision without her guidance, and it went very badly. So that was enough for me to be like, okay, I hear you. She's like, God's up there like, no, no, no. I'm all, whatever, lady. And man, my fourth step made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. I heard the word moral. I was like, not for me. But you know what? I did do it. And my resentments, I found at the end of each resentment was me. It was a mirror or fingers pointing back at me. The way that I had treated people, the way that I had perceived situations that were unrealistic and delusional, right? The way that I had treated people in situations, all came back to me, all these resentments, right? And even just by talking them through, I had realized that a lot of the stuff that I felt I deserved to be resentful over was not real. It had lifted the delusion that I was living in. When I made my fear inventory, there was a lot of things I was afraid of. I thought my pimp was going to kill me, just so you guys know, that's not real because he was not willing to catch a body over me. But in my head, I thought that was real, right? But I have a loving sponsor who talked me through a lot of things that did not really make sense, and my sex inventory, as you guys have heard, sounded like a rap sheet. It was like, guilty, 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 but the coolest thing came out of that sex inventory was that I had noticed that I didn't have to do the things that I was doing in order to receive love and attention from people, because that's what I had grown up knowing. And I actually got to have a choice of what happened with my body. And that this is from God, right? Neither to be used, not selfish, nor to be despised. Because I would just do one or the other, one extreme or the other. Like I either hate it or I love it, right? And the fifth, admitting to God ourselves into another human being. The exact nature of my wrongs, I got to invite God into the meeting with my sponsor and tell her all these things. And one of the most important things that she said and she did for me was when I was going through my 4 steps, she said, do you have any more secrets? And there was something that I had held on to my whole life. I never wanted to tell anybody. Something that happened to me as a child, and I don't think that I told anyone until she sat there and she could see me buckle and she just said, just do it. Just do it. And so I did. And I can tell you that I had a spiritual experience right there in that very moment where I realized that I could just maybe do something different, and that no longer had to be me. 6 and 7, entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. What is ready, right? Well, to me, I felt ready because I had hit spiritual experiences. Obviously, like I know as my recovery has grown, that means something different each time, right? Each day, that means something different to me. And 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. I love step 7. When I take my sponsees through step 7, I take them to do this whole spiritual experience, like to this place, and we walk through this labyrinth, and we use the 7-step prayer as a mantra. And we walk out of this labyrinth, like I've asked, and it's been removed, which is a really cool experience that I get to continue to have thanks to this program. 8 and 9. by this time I was pretty ready to do my amends. When I did these, I was like, please let me do them, because I wanted to put the action, like I wanted to, like where the rubber meets the road. I wanted to do something. I wanted to go out there and do something different. I could talk all I wanted to, like, yeah, I'm in recovery and I've been sober for 60 days, but I wanted to do something different. So when I made the list of the people, I was willing to make the amends, and I made direct amends to a lot of people. I made direct amends to the guy that almost killed me, and I can tell you that when I made that amends, what he said to me was, Jazmine, I love you, but we could never be together again. And I was like, and you guys know, right? In my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you are so self-centered, right? But you know what? The first time in my life, I thought in my head, I was like, okay. And that's what I said to him. Okay. Thanks for listening to me. And the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to explain myself. I no longer needed to do that. I had reached a fleeting moment of humility, and I no longer had to do that. And I also got to offer to make an amends to my pimp, which a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? But here's the reality, guys, is that I had put myself in these situations on purpose, okay? I didn't get talked into doing this, and I could play the victim role all day if I wanted to, right? Yeah, I got pushed into doing this or whatever. But that's not really the truth, and I can tell you that the victim mentality in that role has never worked for me. I can tell you that it only continued my drinking. And when I was able to take accountability for my actions in the situations that I had put myself in, was when my life really started to change. And I realized that not everybody was doing everything to me. I was actually making these decisions to put myself in a place to be hurt, right? Like it says. 10, continue to take personal inventory when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Yeah, so I really love this because I stay in constant contact with my sponsor. I still talk to her every day. I think I've been talking to her every day for almost 2 years. And I am it's so easy for me now to admit when I'm wrong, There's certain relationships I still have a hard time with, right? And I couldn't tell you guys how many times I've had to admit I was wrong, because that would be pretty embarrassing. But the cool part is that I no longer feel that I need to be right all the time. It's really exhausting to feel like you need to run the show all the time, or that the way that you perceive things is the way that everyone perceives things, because that's not really the truth, right? And 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. I work a hard 11, I would like to say. I do, when we retire, every night, I write out an inventory and I take a picture and I send it to my sponsor. And I write a prayer directly after that exactly like it tells us to do on page 86. And it has been life-changing, because not only do I see the behaviors that I'm engaging in, but I also get the opportunity to pray about it directly after, so I don't drift into morbid reflection, right? And I can ask God to remove this thing from me, this fear, this defect, whatever it is that I keep seeing. I can ask that. They're back to the humbly asking, right? And 12. So 12 is my favorite step. I have had a spiritual awakening as the result of the Big Book's 12 suggestions. And I try to practice these principles in all my affairs. So that means when I'm at work, I'm still trying to do this, right? Still trying to treat people this way. I actually have gotten an amazing opportunity more than once to do 12-step calls from people at work, just because I'm open about my recovery. I've had a girl call me who had the DTs and was in the hospital, and she called me and I got to go up to the hospital and read the Big Book to her, and I can tell you that there is no greater feeling than when somebody you work with, who I didn't think she liked me, asks you for help. It's insane. And then trying to carry this message to alcoholics. I have gotten the opportunity to sponsor many women. And I started sponsoring, I was probably like, I don't even know, 4 or 5 months sober. And I just started bringing girls right through the steps. And I can tell you that I think that it is the reason that I'm standing here today. I don't think if you guys did not give me this platform to help other people, I am so quick to go right back into Jazmine. And the thing is that my disease wants to kill me. And I know that if I were to go back out today, I would probably die, because that is the reality of what my alcoholism looks like. And when I get to sit in there in meetings with these girls, I have some amazing sponsees that are willing to show up at 7 a.m., 6 a.m. to meet with me to do step work. And they're the ones that keep me going, And now what that looks like in my life today in application. In November, my dad had an abdominal occlusion and got both of his legs amputated above the knee. And I thought he was going to die. This is on November 8th. And there was this experience that I had, and everything's happening. And I think my dad's going to die. And I'm at Harborview, and all this stuff is going on. And I basically lived at Harborview for, a month or two. And it was the craziest thing, because guess who showed up, You guys are who showed up for me. My sponsee is calling me and telling me about their problems that they're going through right now. Was what kept me down here on the ground, in reality, because I'm living in such my own world and trying to deal with my dad and my siblings and all this stuff, that just doing this work with an alcoholic is what kept me centered and what kept me here. And I kept showing up to the meetings. I got the opportunity to go to the meetings in Seattle and do a bunch of different things. And my sponsor, I can't even express what a gift it is to have somebody that will pick up your phone anytime you need her, and somebody that is willing to listen to you, even if it's the same thing over and over and over again. And I could not be more grateful for the things that I've been given. And today I get the opportunity to take care of my dad 3 days a week. Me and my siblings split the week up. And I get the opportunity to go to college full time. I'm trying to become a nurse and hopefully a nurse practitioner one day. Who knows? I get the opportunity to work as a caregiver also full time. I get the opportunity to do a women's step study on Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. And I get the opportunity to continue sponsoring women throughout the week and continue to meet with my sponsor during the week. There is no words that could express the gratitude that I have for this program, and for the things that I've been able to accomplish. And some people might be like, oh, that's a lot to fit into a schedule, right? But you guys have taught me how to live one day at a time. And in being able to do that, I survived a part of my life and a part of my recovery that I didn't know that I could. And I got to show up for my family sober. And I didn't just, oh, this is too much for me. You know what I mean? I can't do this. I didn't do that. And the crazier part is that I wanted to show up. I wanted to be able to be there. I wanted to be able to be a better example for my younger siblings, because I did not do a very good job at whatever I was trying to do, raising them or whatever you want to call that. I did not do a good job. Not that I could have, obviously. I did not have the tools, but it's really a miracle that a girl like me who was, a prostitute and had done a lot of terrible things to people gets the opportunity for women to call me and ask me what I fucking think. There's a part in the big book that I enjoy a lot of the big book, just so you guys know. I've read it a lot of times, And I read it every day. And there's a part of it that I really enjoy. And it's so I have found a substitute. My imagination is fired. Life means something at last. I do believe that the most satisfactory years of my life and my existence lie ahead. I have found the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And like the big book says, so will you. Thanks.